What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the show. Hopefully everyone's having an amazing Sunday, fun day. No complaints over here. It's NFL football Sunday. Why would we complain? But look, they actually finally admitted it. The XRP reset everyone's been whispering about, it's real. And the proof? It's hiding in plain sight. The filings, the timing, the monetary shifts. It is all connecting like clockwork. Think about this for a second. While everyone's distracted by Bitcoin ETFs and fake narratives, the real reset, it is quietly being architected behind the scenes. The same players that told you XRP was too risky are now lining up to tokenize global liquidity. The insiders, they're not guessing anymore. They're preparing. This isn't a number rumor. This is a full-on strategic move. And when you see how deep this goes, you're going to understand why they had to keep it quiet until now. And guess what? Rip's about to break it all down. Without further ado, welcome to the Bullwinkle Blueprint, everyone. Do me a favor as you're listening, make sure you hit that thumbs up. The more thumbs up we get, the more YouTube's going to push this content, and we need them to push it. And subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We're seeing a nice little Sunday fun day in the markets, huh? Starting to pump up a little bit. Bitcoin's over 111,000. It's up almost 1%. ETH about to hit 4K. It's up about 0.25%. And XRP, yeah, buddy, coming in at $2.53. Even though I thought it was a little bit higher. I thought it would hit 250. There we go. 253, 254. When you click on it, it goes up. You see how that works? Total cryptocurrency market cap, 3.73 trillion. It is up 0.65%. As your altcoin season is at a 32 out of 100 because it's coming, everyone. Now we get this Bank XRP, put this out. Let's talk about it because Bitwise just confirmed the move. You ever notice how the biggest things in crypto happen quietly right before the chaos hits? Have you ever noticed that? Well, Bitwise just filed amendment number 4 for its XRP ETF on, guess what day? Halloween. That's right, October 31st. The days of mask and reveals. And that's not random. The new filing under the Securities Act of 1933, it isn't just paperwork. This is the final mile before approval. They don't keep refiling unless the SEC's door is cracked open. And trust me, this time, it is so far opened that anyone can walk through it. Now, historically, once these amendments start rolling in this close together, I mean, we're talking weeks, not months. Just look exactly how the Bitcoin ETF played out. Late filings, right? Then you got your small tweaks, then boom, approval. XRP's following the exact same script. And the craziest part is that it is happening right as liquidity across crypto is expanding. You really think that's coincidence, folks? We talked about this delay, and I told you how this delay wasn't normal. How they did this on purpose because they're trying to coordinate it with what's going on and the global liquidity reset that is incoming. Here's the actual filing. You can see filed October 31st at the bottom from Bitwise. Then we get to this clip from Brad Garlinghouse. I want you to listen to this because Brad has been dropping hints for years. And he said it best. XRP isn't about who holds it. That doesn't matter. It's about what it actually connects. Listen.
What is XRP, which is a technology, an open source technology that is kind of native to our products. We use XRP in our product stack, but there are scores of other companies building in and around the XRP ecosystem. You know, people will say things like, well, XRP has a CEO. And I'm like, who is it? Ripple has a CEO, that's me. There's scores, if not 100 other CEOs building around the XRP ecosystem. And I think that's when I hear people say that, I think, okay, they're not educated about what's going on. And so we need to educate people. Obviously, you see that in a number of other tokens where there's a very distributed, very open source community. You know, people don't understand, Ripple does not control XRP. It is open source. There have been amendments passed to the XRP open source technology that we opposed. We were against them and they still passed. That's okay, that's open source technology. There's other things we have championed that have passed, but it takes 80% of the community approving those amendments, which Ripple doesn't have control.
Look, that's the line that everyone missed. Because this isn't just about speculation, this is about the actual infrastructure. Brad's thinking on the scale of cross border payments, central bank digital currencies, tokenized assets, things that actually require an interoperable bridge asset. While most of crypto's been out there gambling, Ripple's just been quietly building the pipes of a new economy. And guess what runs through those pipes? XRP. That's why the ETFs matter, everyone. Not because retail investors need it, but because the institutions do. They need a compliant, regulated on-ramp into XRP. Bitwise didn't file this thing for fun. They filed because the green light is coming, which brings us over to this, the government shutdown, the perfect cover. Let's talk about what's really wild here. Because the US government shutdown extending into its second month, you got polymarket betting data that's now putting this to the reopen won't come until about November 28th. But why does it all matter, Rip? I got you. Because this is your perfect distraction. Every time there's a shutdown, what happens? The markets pull back, fear spikes, and quietly the Fed reloads liquidity in the background. Look at the last two shutdowns. Back in 2018, 2019, right? Shut down for 35 days. The S&P 500 went up over 10% right after. 2013, 16 days, 3.1%. Markets always bounce back stronger. And this time, the rebound could align perfectly with a multiple XRP ETF approvals. And the XRP reset we've been talking about, well, the pattern is crystal clear. They starve the system and then they flood it, which brings us over to this. XRP's price has to be higher. Let's stop pretending this is about if XRP goes higher. It's about how high it needs to go for Ripple's system to function globally. Ripple's entire solution depends on XRP having a higher price. That's not my logic. That is straight from their own internal logic. You see it on your screen. I'll blow it up for y'all. The higher the price, the higher the liquidity capacity. If XRP's cheap, it can't move big value. But at a few dollars, 10, 50, suddenly it is mathematically capable of moving trillions with minimal slippage. That is the part that most people do not understand here. XRP's price isn't about retail hype. It's about your network efficiency. The global economy can't run on a 50-cent rail. Ripple knows that, so does the Fed, so does Bitwise. That is why the entire system needs the reset. The new liquidity model requires a revalued asset to actually back it, which brings us to the final confirmation, because Mr. Jerome Powell and the Fed, they just said it out loud. Here's your mic drop moment. Jerome Powell himself said, and I quote, "We will be adding reserves at a certain point." That's not some throwaway comment. That is code for quantitative easing is coming back. They are going to flood the system with liquidity. And the assets positioned as your global settlement rails, they're going to explode. That's your reset. The same system that suppressed liquidity will now unleash it. And this time, guess what? It's tokenized. You combine that with XRP ETFs, the institutional infrastructure that Ripple built, and a Fed ready to print again, folks, it's freaking obvious. They admitted it. The XRP reset is real, and it has already begun. Listen to Jerome.
The place we'll be on December 1 is that the size of the balance sheet is frozen. And as mortgage-backed securities mature, we'll reinvest those in treasury bills, which will foster both a more treasury balance sheet and also a shorter duration. So that's what, in the meantime, if you freeze the size of the balance sheet, the non-reserve liabilities, currency, for example, they're going to continue to grow organically. And because the size of the balance sheet is frozen, you have further shrinkage in reserves. And reserves is the thing that we're managing that has to be ample. So that'll happen for a time, but not a tremendously long time. We don't know exactly how long. But at a certain point, you'll want to start reserves to start gradually growing to keep up with the size of the banking system and the size of the economy. So we'll be adding reserves at a certain point. And that's the last point. Even then, we didn't make decisions about this today, but we did talk today about the composition of the balance sheet. And there's a desire that the balance sheet be, right now, it's got a lot more duration than the outstanding universe of Treasury securities. And we want to move to a place where we're closer to that duration. That'll take some time. We haven't made a decision about the ultimate endpoint, but we all agree that we want to move more in the direction of a balance sheet that more closely reflects the outstanding treasuries, and that means a shorter duration balance sheet. Now, this is...
Look, you heard from Jerome, QE is coming. They will be adding reserves at a certain point. So here's where we stand. Bitwise is making moves. Ripple's silence speaks volumes. And the Fed, they're about to light the liquidity fuse. Everything we have waited for is converging. The reset isn't coming someday, everyone. It is unfolding right now in filings, in liquidity flows, and in policy language. When this clicks for the mainstream, it'll be too late to react. That's why the smart money's already positioning and has been positioned. XRP isn't just a token. It is the foundation of a new monetary system. You need to stay ready, because when this reset hits, guess what? There won't be a second chance to get in early.